History usually remembers empires built on stone, cities, and crowns. But some of the greatest power the world has ever known came from people with no cities, no walls, and no written laws. From the frozen steppes of Mongolia came a force so swift it moved faster than news itself, a people hardened by wind, hunger, and endless horizons. No empire, no matter how rich or mighty, could withstand their advance. How did nomads, armed with little more than horses and bows, build the largest land empire in human history? Before we begin, if you enjoy cinematic history stories like this, make sure to subscribe. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I always like to see how far these stories travel. Long before the world feared the name Mongols, the vast Eurasian steppe was home to scattered tribes struggling for survival. These tribes lived in a land without walls, one where winters burned colder than iron and summers scorched like fire. In this endless expanse, only the strongest endured. Families traveled in felt-covered yurts, herding goats, sheep, and horses, fighting wolves at night and rival clans by day. Hardship wasn't an obstacle, it was the Mongols' inheritance. From childhood, Mongol boys learned to ride before they could walk. Their first toys were bows, their playgrounds the limitless plains, and their teachers the storms that battered their camps. Every child grew into a rider capable of hitting a target at full gallop, turning the entire Mongol population into potential warriors. Survival in such a place demanded resilience, unity, and precision. The steppe didn't produce soldiers, it forged them. Yet the Mongols were not a united people. Before the rise of their empire, they were fractured into rival clans ruled by feuding nobles. Betrayal was common, alliances temporary, and leadership fragile. Tribes fought over grazing lands, livestock, and honor. For centuries, they remained dangerous but disorganized, deadly in battle, but incapable of conquering anything beyond neighboring clans. What they lacked was a leader who could transform chaos into cohesion. Into this turbulent world was born a boy named Temujin. His early life was marked by cruelty that would have broken lesser men. His father was poisoned when Temujin was still a child. His family was cast out by their own clan, forced to survive in the wilderness with nothing but scraps. Temujin endured starvation, slavery, and betrayal, but each hardship carved steel into his spirit. He learned early that loyalty was precious and betrayal unforgettable. Temujin's rise to power began not with titles or wealth, but with alliances built through courage and charisma. He gathered men who valued ability over noble blood, discipline over tradition. Slowly, he united clans through a mix of diplomacy and brutal necessity. Those who resisted faced swift retribution. Those who joined found themselves part of something greater than mere survival. Temujin was forging a new order, one where loyalty flowed to him, not to ancient lineages. The turning point came when Temujin confronted his oldest enemies, the Taishad and Merkid tribes. Through daring raids and strategic mastery, he defeated them and reclaimed honor stolen from him in childhood. Victories snowballed into momentum. By proving himself in battle after battle, Temujin earned the loyalty of thousands. At a grand assembly known as a Kurultai, he was proclaimed Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler, a title unmatched in its ambition. As Genghis Khan, he brought sweeping reforms that transformed the Mongol tribes into a unified war machine. Merit replaced aristocratic privilege. The army was reorganized into units of tens, hundreds, and thousands, each responsible for its own discipline. Messengers rode across the steppe with commands, forming an early network of communication. Even the harshest laws, the yasa, were designed to maintain order. For the first time, the Mongols were one people, united under an iron will. But unity alone could not explain their meteoric rise. The Mongol military was unlike anything the world had ever seen. Their warriors traveled light, carrying dried meat and milk curds for sustenance, enabling them to move faster than any army in history. They rode multiple horses, swapping mounts mid-battle to maintain speed. Their composite bows could pierce armor at incredible range. To outsiders, they appeared like phantoms, here one moment, gone the next, striking with terrifying precision. Still, Genghis Khan's ambitions stretched far beyond the steppe. He looked outward and saw a world divided into kingdoms, empires and cities all slow, rigid, and unprepared for the storm he was about to unleash. To him, conquest was not merely expansion, it was destiny. The steppe had forged him, suffering had shaped him, and unity had empowered him. Now, the world would learn what it meant when nomads stopped surviving and started conquering. The first target of Genghis Khan's ambition was the Western Xia Kingdom, a powerful state guarding the gateway into China. To most steppe leaders, the Xia were formidable, protected by strong fortresses and disciplined troops. But Genghis saw them not as an obstacle, but a proving ground. He launched relentless raids, testing Mongol tactics against settled armies. When the Xia finally capitulated, Genghis gained not only victory, but also invaluable knowledge. The Mongols could break kingdoms just as easily as tribes. Next stood the mighty Jin dynasty of northern China, a superpower commanding vast resources, advanced siege technology, and millions of subjects. Many believed Genghis was overreaching. How could nomads topple a state protected by towering walls and elite infantry? Yet the Mongols adapted with frightening speed. They employed Chinese engineers, captured catapults, and even learned to use gunpowder bombs. The steppe warriors who once lived in felt tents were now mastering the greatest siege techniques in the world. But it wasn't technology alone that doomed the Jin. It was the Mongol ability to strike from unexpected directions. Their armies rode through deserts believed impassable, crossed frozen rivers, and attacked fortified cities from angles no strategist anticipated. The Jin Empire was pushed to its knees by an enemy that refused to fight like any force they had known. And when the Mongols finally seized Zhengdu, modern-day Beijing, the world realized this was no ordinary conqueror rising. Genghis Khan's reputation spread far beyond Asia, reaching the distant lands of Central Asia where the Khwarezmian Empire ruled. It was a prosperous Muslim kingdom, connecting trade between East and West. At first, relations were peaceful. Genghis sent merchants to establish trade. But when a Khwarezmian governor murdered those merchants and seized their goods, Genghis demanded justice. The Shah dismissed him. In that moment, he sealed the fate of his empire. What followed was one of the most devastating campaigns in medieval history. Genghis Khan launched a full-scale invasion, splitting his forces into coordinated columns that advanced with surgical precision. No city was safe. Samarkand, Bukhara, Urgench, rich centers of culture and commerce, fell one after another. The Mongols executed professional soldiers but spared artisans, engineers, and craftsmen, deporting them across the empire to strengthen Mongol cities. Their brutality was not chaos, it was strategy. At Bukhara, Genghis reportedly addressed the population from the steps of the city's mosque, declaring, "I am the punishment of God. If you had not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you." Whether the quote is literal or embroidered by chroniclers, its meaning resonated. To the conquered, the Mongols seemed like an unstoppable force of nature, neither purely human nor entirely mortal, but something between destiny and disaster. After defeating the Khwarezmian Empire, Genghis Khan continued westward, sending generals like Subutai and Jeeb on reconnaissance campaigns. But Mongol reconnaissance was unlike anything in history. They didn't merely scout, they conquered. Their armies rode through the Caucasus, defeating Georgian knights, outmaneuvering steppe tribes, and even confronting Rus principates in Eastern Europe. Each battle expanded Mongol knowledge of terrain, enemies, and tactics. Every victory sharpened the empire for even greater conquests. The Mongols succeeded not just because they were fierce warriors, but because they created perhaps the most advanced intelligence network of the medieval world. Their riders traveled at breathtaking speed, using relay stations that allowed messages to cross the empire faster than any rival state could respond. They mapped territories, studied enemy weaknesses, and prepared coordinated attacks across thousands of miles. No empire before or since has matched the precision of Mongol strategic planning. Equally devastating was their use of psychological warfare. Genghis Khan understood that terror could win battles before they began. Cities that resisted were annihilated. Those that surrendered were often spared. News of these fates spread faster than the Mongol armies themselves. Many garrisons, upon hearing the thunder of hooves in the distance, surrendered immediately. Mongol conquest was not only physical, it was psychological, spiritual, and deeply intentional. And yet, despite the destruction they wrought, the Mongols also became unlikely agents of connection. They opened trade routes, encouraged merchants, protected caravans, and allowed ideas to travel farther than ever before. They were destroyers, but they were also builders, constructing a world tied together by horseback speed and imperial administration. Still, the greatest expansion was yet to come. Under Genghis and his descendants, the Mongol Empire would stretch farther than any dream possible. When Genghis Khan died in 1227, the world expected the Mongol Empire to fracture. Most empires die with their founders, but the Mongols were different. Their system of loyalty, military structure, and unified law allowed the empire to survive the loss of its greatest leader. Before his death, Genghis divided the realm among his sons, creating powerful khanate that remained loyal to the central authority. What followed was not collapse, but acceleration, an expansion unprecedented in human history. Under Ögedei Khan, Genghis's designated successor, the Mongols launched massive campaigns westward. Led by brilliant generals like Subutai and Bata, they stormed into Eastern Europe. Russian principalities fell one by one, from Ryazan to Vladimir. Cities burned, princes died, and entire regions were reshaped by Mongol discipline and speed. Even mighty Kiev, once the jewel of the Rus, was reduced to ashes. No kingdom, no fortress, no army could outmaneuver the Mongol storm. Having crushed the Rus, the Mongols turned their attention toward the kingdoms of Poland and Hungary. Their coordinated multi-army assault remains one of the most impressive military operations ever executed. At the Battle of Legnica, Mongol forces annihilated a coalition of European knights. Days later, at Mohi, they destroyed the Hungarian army using complex feigned retreats and encirclements. Medieval Europe, accustomed to slow-moving armies and rigid formations, had never seen such fluid and lethal tactics. Europe stood on the brink of collapse. With Poland and Hungary devastated, nothing seemed capable of stopping the Mongols from reaching Vienna and perhaps even the heart of Western Europe. Chroniclers wrote in terror, convinced that the end of Christendom was near. But then, something unexpected happened. Ögedei Khan died. Following Mongol custom, all princes had to return home for the Kurultai to choose the next great Khan. Europe was saved, not by victory, but by Mongol tradition. Meanwhile, in the east, other branches of Genghis's lineage continued expanding the empire in every direction. Kublai Khan, one of the most ambitious descendants, set his sights on China, at that time the wealthiest and most advanced civilization in the world. The Song dynasty ruled a prosperous realm defended by elite crossbowmen, innovative engineers, and fortified cities. Conquering such a nation required more than Mongol cavalry. It required adaptation, patience, and relentless pressure. The Mongols slowly pushed south, capturing cities, rivers, and trade routes. They built fleets to challenge the Song Navy, employed Chinese engineers, and used gunpowder weapons in new and terrifying ways. After decades of conflict, the Mongols finally seized Hangzhou, the Song capital. In 1279, the last Song forces fell in a tragic naval battle that ended with loyalists choosing death over surrender. With this victory, Kublai Khan became ruler of all China, founding the Yuan dynasty. Under Kublai, the Mongol Empire reached a new phase, not just a force of conquest, but a center of global administration. He moved the capital to modern-day Beijing, adopting Chinese governance while maintaining steppe traditions. His rule embraced art, trade, science, and diplomacy. Marco Polo, the Venetian traveler, later described Kublai's court as the richest and most magnificent on earth. In Kublai's hands, the empire transformed from a storm of conquest into a multicultural superstate. Yet the Mongol appetite for expansion was not easily satisfied. They launched invasions into Southeast Asia, challenging the kingdoms of Vietnam, Burma, and Java. These campaigns met fierce resistance and harsh tropical climates, demonstrating the limits of Mongol cavalry warfare. Still, the Mongols adapted, building fleets and experimenting with amphibious assaults. Their failures here were rare, and ironically, they helped shape the Mongols' understanding that not every land could be conquered by force alone. Kublai also attempted one of the most daring military operations in history, the invasion of Japan. Twice, he assembled massive fleets to cross the sea, combining Mongol cavalry tactics with naval warfare. But Japan was protected not only by skilled samurai defenders, but by storms, kamikaze, the divine winds. Twice the Mongol fleets were destroyed, not by swords, but by typhoons. It was one of the few times nature, not armies, halted Mongol expansion. Despite these setbacks, the Mongol Empire continued to thrive. From Korea to Persia, from Siberia to the Mediterranean, it connected cultures that once seemed infinitely distant. Its trade networks allowed goods, technologies, and ideas to travel across continents in ways unimaginable before. But beneath this golden era, new tensions brewed. The vastness of the empire, once its greatest strength, began to strain under its own weight. Internal rivalries and political fractures waited like cracks beneath a frozen lake. As the Mongol Empire stretched across continents, its sheer size became both a marvel and a dilemma. No empire in history had commanded such a vast array of peoples, languages, climates, and belief systems. Administration required innovation, and the Mongols responded with a blend of ruthlessness and brilliance. They established relay stations, known as Yam, connecting the empire like a nervous system. Messengers could travel across thousands of miles in days, enabling coordination that shocked rival states. Trade flourished under Mongol rule. For merchants, the Pax Mongolica, the Mongol peace, transformed the Silk Road from a dangerous gamble into a bustling artery of commerce. Caravans carried Chinese silk, Persian glass, Venetian textiles, Indian spices, and Arabian manuscripts across the empire. For the first time, a merchant could travel from Europe to China under a single political authority. This web of safety and prosperity was remarkable for an empire forged by war. But peace came at a price. The Mongols demanded absolute loyalty, and rebellion was met with swift, merciless punishment. Cities that defied their rule were burned, populations scattered or enslaved, and leaders executed. Yet the Mongols also protected those who submitted willingly. In their worldview, loyalty was the highest virtue and disobedience the greatest sin. This dual nature, patronage and destruction, gave the empire both its feared reputation and its enduring power. In the West, the Ilkhanate ruled Persia and the Middle East, blending Mongol traditions with Islamic culture. They built observatories, sponsored scholars, and developed advanced astronomical tables. In the Northwest, the Golden Horde ruled the steppes and Russian lands, dominating trade routes and influencing Slavic kingdoms. In Central Asia, the Chagatai Khanate fused Persian, Turkic, and Mongol customs. Each Khanate evolved uniquely, yet all traced their legitimacy to the legacy of Genghis Khan. Despite the differences, a shared principle united them. The empire was strongest when its Khans respected the lineage of Genghis and upheld the Yasa. But as decades passed, rivalries grew. Ambitious princes questioned who deserved supremacy. Disputes over succession ignited internal conflicts, fracturing alliances that had held the empire together. The unity that once allowed the Mongols to conquer half the world now began to crumble beneath the weight of its own ambitions. Even so, Mongol generals continued pushing boundaries. They expanded deeper into the Middle East, even reaching the gates of Jerusalem. Others tried to reassert control over rebellious Chinese provinces. In Southeast Asia, further attempts were made to secure tributary states. The Mongols were relentless, but cracks grew wider. Communication slowed across massive distances. Loyalties fragmented, and competing khans prioritized local power over imperial unity. The storm that once moved in one direction now swirled chaotically. The empire's vast communication network also carried something far more perilous than messages: disease. The same trade routes that allowed silk and spices to flow also spread the Black Death. Though the plague affected all of Eurasia, its movement was accelerated by the interconnectedness the Mongols had created. As cities collapsed into chaos, economies faltered, and populations plummeted, the empire's stability weakened. The very system that had empowered Mongol dominance now helped unravel it. Meanwhile, in China, the Yuan dynasty faced mounting challenges: floods, corruption, factional strife, and widespread dissatisfaction among the Han population. Kublai Khan's successors lacked his vision and authority. Rebellions erupted, culminating in the rise of Zhu Yuanzhang, the future Hongwu emperor and founder of the Ming dynasty. In 1368, the Mongols were expelled from China, retreating back to the northern steppes. It marked the end of Mongol rule over the richest region in the world. In the west, the Golden Horde splintered into smaller khanates. Muscovy, once a tributary, gradually grew strong enough to challenge Mongol authority. Over time, Russian princes pushed back, eventually defeating the remnants of Mongol power. The Ilkhanate, weakened by internal disputes and economic collapse, disintegrated into independent states. The Chagatai Khanate fragmented similarly. What had once been a unified empire now existed as a constellation of competing realms. Yet even in decline, the Mongol legacy refused to fade. Their influence transformed the cultures they once conquered. Russian military organization evolved from Mongol models. Chinese governance absorbed steppe administration. Persian art, science, and astronomy flourished under Mongol patronage. Even Europe, once terrified of Mongol armies, benefited from the trade networks they strengthened. Though the empire fractured, its impact continued to shape the world long after the last Khan lost his throne. As the unified Mongol Empire faded, its story shifted from conquest to influence, an influence so profound that the world it shaped continued long after its banners disappeared from the steppes. The Mongols had connected continents, destroyed borders, and forced civilizations to confront one another in ways never seen before. Their empire was a bridge of blood and brilliance, built by warriors who emerged from a land most empires had never even considered threatening. Even after fragmentation, Mongol Khanates played decisive roles in Eurasian history. The Golden Horde shaped the rise of Moscow, influencing the future Russian state. The Ilkhanate introduced scientific and artistic revival in Persia, sponsoring scholars who advanced astronomy, mathematics, and medicine. In Central Asia, the Timurid Empire, though Timurid rulers were not direct Mongol descendants, was deeply inspired by Mongol military structures and steppe traditions. Genghis Khan's shadow stretched across centuries. But perhaps the greatest legacy of the Mongols lay in the exchange of knowledge they unintentionally accelerated. Because they safeguarded trade routes and opened new paths across the continent, the movement of ideas became a force powerful enough to reshape civilizations. Paper, gunpowder, printing, and mathematics moved west. European metallurgy, glassmaking, and navigation techniques traveled east. The Mongols had torn down walls, and in their place built highways for human progress. The Mongols also transformed warfare forever. Their strategies, feigned retreats, lightning raids, coordinated multi-front campaigns became the blueprint for future generals. Leaders from Frederick the Great to Napoleon studied Mongol tactics with fascination. Even modern military academies analyze how a cavalry army could conquer fortified empires, cross deserts, survive winters, and maintain discipline across thousands of miles. Their mobility, intelligence gathering, and logistical planning remain unmatched by many armies even today. Yet the Mongols' reputation is double-edged. To those caught in the path of conquest, they were a nightmare, masters of siege, terror, and annihilation. Their destruction of cities like Nishapur, Merv, or Kiev left scars that lasted generations. Chronicles describe horrors that defy imagination. But to others, especially those who submitted early or lived under stable Mongol rule, the empire brought order, protection, and prosperity. Their legacy depends on where one stands in the shadow of history. Modern scholarship continues to wrestle with this paradox. The Mongols were both destroyers and unifiers, conquerors and administrators, ruthless and innovative. They shattered empires but built new connections. They devastated cities but revived trade. They brought terror but also stability. It is impossible to understand their impact without acknowledging the dual nature of their rule, a blend of ferocity and foresight rarely seen in world history. Their complexity defies simple judgment. To the people of the steppe, the Mongol Empire remains a source of cultural pride. Genghis Khan, once feared across continents, is celebrated in Mongolia as the father of their nation. His face appears on currency, statues overlook cities, and stories of his conquests are taught to children. In the vast grasslands where horses still roam freely, the spirit of the empire endures, tied to the wind, the sky, and the unbroken horizon. For historians, the rise of the Mongols remains one of the most astonishing phenomena in human history. How could nomads, armed with nothing but their speed and skill, topple civilizations that had stood for centuries? How could a leader born into exile reshape the world more decisively than kings raised in luxury? The answers reveal a truth deeper than conquest. The Mongols succeeded because they mastered the art of adaptability in a world slow to change. Even today, the echoes of the Mongol Empire continue to shape our world. Countries, languages, borders, trade networks, and even genetic patterns carry the imprint of Mongol expansion. The Silk Road, revived in modern times, follows paths first secured by Mongol riders. Innovations in warfare, diplomacy, and governance trace their origins to steppe traditions. The Mongols may no longer ride across continents, but their impact gallops through history like an eternal horseman. And so, the story of how nomads conquered half the world is not merely a tale of battles. It is the saga of a people born from hardship, unified by genius, and propelled by a vision larger than any empire before them. From the windswept plains of Mongolia to the gates of Europe and the shores of the Pacific, the Mongols carved their legacy into the bones of history. Their empire faded, but their legend did not. Under the eternal blue sky, their spirit rides on,